The year was 1865, and the wind blew mean across the Arizona territory, dry, laced with grit, and heavy with secrets. The sun hung low over the scrubland like a lazy eye watching men die slow. Dust clung to the backs of horses and the coats of tired riders. One such rider eased into the town of Bitter Creek just as the sky turned a bruised red. Wyatt Cole didn't look like much from a distance. Worn boots, trail, dust up to his knees, a gray coat that still held the smell of war and fire. His rifle rested easy in its saddle scabbard, but his eyes scanned the town like a man who'd seen bullets come from church windows. He wasn't here for trouble, leastways not the kind that started loud. But men like Wyatt carried it like a shadow. It followed him through every settlement west of the Mississippi. Bitter Creek wasn't much, just a stretch of weathered buildings along a split railroad. A saloon with broken shutters, a blacksmith with arms like anvils, and the trading post McGrady's sat in the middle like the heart of something dying slow. Wyatt swung down from his horse, boots hitting the ground with a quiet thud. The air smelled like stale beer and horse sweat. Inside McGrady's, the light was dim and smoky. Men hunched over tables, cards in hand, voices low and distrustful. He walked in like smoke, slow and unannounced. The barkeep gave a nod, but nothing more. Wyatt liked it that way. He ordered jerky, a canteen refill, and one slug of whiskey that burned all the way down. That's when he heard it. A shout from outside. Sharp. Then a second, louder and angrier. Chairs scraped. Men moved to the windows. Wyatt stepped out onto the porch, sun in his eyes, hand brushing the butt of his pistol. Two men had a girl pinned to the dirt. She was barefoot, maybe 15, blood matting her black hair. Her dress was torn, her lip split. One of the men, tall, yellow-haired, with a crooked jaw, had her by the wrist, dragging her toward the post's horse rail. She's Comanche, the other man spat. Caught her stealing a sorrel stallion just north of here. Probably scouting for a raid. No tribe badge, no family, no mercy. The town folks didn't lift a finger. Some crossed their arms. Others just watched. Wyatt didn't move at first. He saw her eyes, black as canyon night but steady. No tears, just defiance. There was something in her face, something carved deep from places rougher than this. She yours? Wyatt's voice cut through the air like a drawn blade. The yellow-haired man turned. What? I said, is she yours? The man's grip tightened. She's a thief. Maybe worse. We're talking her in for bounty. $50, says the marshal at Fort Mavis, wants her. Wyatt took one step off the porch. Let her go. Laughter, quick and cruel. You drunk, stranger? Or just stupid? Wyatt's hand didn't shake as it went to his sidearm. You heard me. The man dropped the girl and went for his holster. Wyatt's Colt cleared leather first. Two shots cracked like thunder across dry wood. The first man screamed, clutching his leg. The second turned to run. Wyatt didn't shoot him. He'd already made his point. The girl didn't flinch. She just stood, blood on her face and sand in her hair, staring at him like she'd expected it. A silence fell over Bitter Creek. Wyatt kept his gun low, barrel still smoking. You best ride, someone muttered from the saloon door. You just shot Jake Randall. His kin'll come looking to... Wyatt looked down at the man writhing in the dust. He came looking first. He holstered his pistol, walked over to the girl, and offered her his hand. She didn't take it. Instead, she got to her feet on her own, eyes never leaving his. The cut on her lip bled down her chin. What's your name? Wyatt asked. She didn't answer. Just turned, looked toward the edge of town, and started walking. Wyatt sighed and followed. He wasn't sure why. Maybe he'd seen too much wrong in the war to stomach any more. Maybe it was her eyes, or maybe he was just tired of watching good people bleed. He caught up by the livery, grabbed supplies from his saddlebag, water, jerky, bandages. She watched him but said nothing. You got people, he asked. Still silence. Fine. You don't talk, I'll talk enough for both of us. They mounted and rode. The town faded behind them. Just another place Wyatt would never return to. They followed no trail, only the sun, and the instinct to keep moving. The girl rode behind him on the same horse, light as a shadow. They rode until the orange light of day bled into purple. The land was wide and whispering. Coyotes howled in the distance, and the cacti stood like silent judges. They made camp beneath a split rock, fire low, just enough to warm their hands. Wyatt handed her some jerky. She took it with one hand, slowly. "I'm Wyatt," he said, chewing. "Wyatt Cole. Used to ride with the Union Scouts. Lost a lot of friends. Killed more men than I care to count. Still nothing. Don't know why I helped you," he admitted. "Guess I ain't too fond of bastards with rope in their hands." The wind stirred. Then, at last, her voice, soft, cracked, and thick with accent. "Naya." He looked up. "That your name?" She nodded once. They sat in silence after that. Not comfortable, not hostile, just two souls circling a fire, bound by something neither could name. Later, as the fire died down, Wyatt heard something. Not wind, not coyotes, drums, faint but steady, like a heartbeat under the earth. Then came the feeling, eyes in the dark. He turned slowly. High, on the ridge above them, shadows moved. Figures, silent, still. 1, 2, then dozens. Painted faces, feathered lances, ghosts in the stone. The Comanche. Wyatt reached for his rifle. Naya's hand stopped him. "No," she whispered. "They won't shoot." He looked at her, confused. "Why not?" Her voice was flat. "Because they already decided what you are." The fire cracked. Wyatt's gut turned cold. They were surrounded, outnumbered. He defended her without knowing what she was running from. And now her people had come. Not for her. For him. The sun rose pale over the canyon rim, its light filtering through the red rock like a blood-stained veil. Wyatt hadn't slept. He sat with his back to stone, rifle across his lap, eyes fixed on the shadows that never seemed to leave the ridge. Naya hadn't moved much either. She curled beneath a buffalo-hide blanket, face to the fire, but Wyatt knew she was awake. You could feel the tension in the air, tight as a bowstring. Just before dawn, the shadows began to move. No hoofbeats, no war cries, just shapes slipping through sagebrush and silence like spirits summoned from the dirt. They emerged from the cliffs and the gullies, Comanche warriors, lean and painted, their faces unreadable beneath streaks of white and ash. They moved with purpose, surrounding the camp without a sound. It was like watching ghosts close in. Wyatt didn't reach for his gun. He knew better. It would have been over before he could blink. Then one man stepped forward. Older, broad shoulders, beaded chest plate. A band of eagle feathers crowned his black braid. The others held back. This was a man of weight. Naya stood slowly, head lowered, then lifted her eyes to meet the man's. "Father." The word fell between them like a rock into still water. Wyatt watched as the man studied her, first her face, then the dried blood at her temple, then him. She was being dragged through the dirt, Wyatt said, by 2 white men. "I stopped them. That's all." The man said nothing. Then a voice rose from behind, a younger warrior scowling. "You killed a man of your own blood for her. That makes you part of this." Wyatt's jaw tightened. "I didn't do it for her tribe. I did it because it was right." Naya stepped closer to her father. "The men who took me, they killed my cousin. Burned his camp near Devil's Hollow. I ran. I stole no horse. I did nothing but survive." The chief's eyes flicked from her to Wyatt again. "You shed blood," the chief said in careful English, voice low and firm. "You broke the line between your world and mine." "I broke nothing," Wyatt replied, "but I won't apologize for stopping monsters." A long silence followed. Then the chief nodded once to his warriors. They lowered their weapons but did not ease their stance. "You come with us," he told Wyatt. "You speak to the elders. You answer for what you've done." Wyatt glanced at Naya. "And if I don't?" "You die here," the chief said flatly, "where no name will remember you." Wyatt looked at the circle of stone and brush. There'd be no outrunning them, no shooting his way out, and Naya wasn't moving without them. He gave a slow nod. "Lead the way." They walked through narrow gullies and dry stream beds, the land whispering around them. Hawks circled overhead. Every step deeper into the wild felt like leaving the world behind. Wyatt knew this wasn't just a journey, it was a trial of what he didn't yet understand. The Comanche village lay hidden in a bend of the canyon, half swallowed by rock and brush. Smoke rose from cook fires. Children paused mid-play to stare. Women watched from lodge entrances. Warriors eyed him like a snake had slithered into their midst. Wyatt felt the weight of 100 eyes, but he didn't flinch. As they stopped in the center of the camp, the chief turned to him. "You sleep here tonight. Tomorrow, the elders will decide." Wyatt gave a sharp nod. "And until then, you stay close. You speak little. And if I try to leave..." A grim smile played at the chief's mouth. "You won't." That night, under the cold stars and the howl of wolves echoing far off, Wyatt sat beside a small fire. Naya brought him a fur blanket, but didn't speak. She sat across from him, watching the flames, face unreadable. He glanced up at the dark sky. He'd ridden into Bitter Creek, looking for quiet. Now he was surrounded by silence that might very well bury him. The fire had burned low, casting long shadows across Wyatt's face as dawn bled faint over the canyon wall. The chief's words from the night before rang like iron in his ears. Asterisk, you answer for what you've done. Asterisk, no trial, no jury. Just the judgment of those who had lived longer, suffered more, and buried kin for less. The elders gathered in a circle just past the sacred stones. Their eyes were dark, lined with memory. Naya stood nearby, her arms folded tightly, jaw clenched, as Wyatt was led forward by two warriors. He walked steady, spine straight, though he hadn't slept. The Comanche didn't speak of guilt. They tested it. The oldest elder raised a hand. "You came with blood on you. Not ours, not hers, but blood nonetheless. You claim honor. We seek proof." Wyatt didn't blink. "Say what you need to. You will go to the dark ridge. No weapon, no food. You return alive by sunfall or not at all." He glanced at Naya. Her face cracked then, just barely. Eyes wide. She took a step forward, but her father raised a hand, stopping her. Wyatt was stripped of his rifle, his knife, and even his coat. They gave him a skin of water and turned him loose to the wild. He walked. The land swallowed him quick, red rocks, black thorns, cliffs like teeth. The air was thin. The silence absolute. A buzzard circled overhead, slow and lazy. Wyatt's boots scraped shale as he moved higher up the ridge, each step stealing strength. By midday, the sun sat high and cruel, and his mouth was dry. Then came the growl. Low. Too close. The cougar stepped from behind a ridge brush, fur like smoke, eyes bright with hunger. No time to think. Wyatt grabbed a fallen branch, splintered at the end, and turned just as it lunged. Teeth tore into his shoulder. He rammed the branch deep into its throat. Blood sprayed. The animal twisted, thrashed, then fell still. Wyatt staggered back, panting, bleeding alive. He bound his wound with his undershirt and limped back toward the canyon, using the sun's path as his compass. The journey back was slower. Every breath a cost. The Comanche saw him as he stumbled into view at dusk, covered in dirt and blood, dragging the cougar's pelt behind him. Naya ran to him first, tears streaking her cheeks. The chief nodded once. You walk with death and return. That is enough. Wyatt looked at them all, breathing heavy. I didn't come here to belong, he said, but I reckon I'll never ride past wrong again. And the desert wind whispered its approval.